Hi, Dennis Dodd here at the Big Ten Conference Media Days, and kind enough to join us is Indiana coach Bill Lynch. Bill, thanks for coming by to your first Big Ten Conference Media Days.
Thanks, Dennis. I've enjoyed it being around a lot of old faces and getting to share some information about Indiana.
Taking over under trying circumstances at the University of Indiana, but I know you're a head coaching veteran, Butler, Ball State. How's that going to help this year?
Well, I think, this will be my 15th year as a head football coach. So obviously the situation's different. But having been there through, the period with Coach Hep, we all went through it together. I don't think any of us know exactly what he experienced over the last 18 months of his life, but he was a tough guy and was a guy that was never going to make any excuses. So we had some really good times together. I know there were some times when he struggled, and his last 3 months were awful tough. But from a football standpoint, he couldn't coach in the spring. So, we as a staff, ran it in the spring. So at least that gives us something going into the fall, that there's continuity and some consistency for our players.
Yeah, even with all that going on last year, I thought it was pretty amazing that you guys were so resilient and almost made it to that sixth victory for a bowl game. Does it say something about the kids, or do they just think about football at that point?
Well, I think it says a lot about the kids because, when he had this second surgery and he missed a couple weeks, we didn't play very well. And looking back at it, we had to make some decisions after those 2 weeks based on how we played. And I think some of the decisions we made, and we moved some people around and helped us later on win some games in the Big Ten that maybe we wouldn't have if we had gotten through those early games. But the kids are resilient, and I think they've developed a chemistry and those intangible things we often talk about as a result of what they've been through.
Now you've got some, I like to call them the triplets. No one else has on offense. Marcus Thigpen, James Hardy, and Kellen Lewis at quarterback. How big are they going to be now with a little bit of experience under their belt?
Well, I think you're right. They are very talented football players, and each in their own way. I mean, Kellen being the quarterback is a very, very good passer. A lot of people think he's just an athlete, but he'd be a great drop-back passer even if he couldn't run. Hardy is a special talent. I mean, physically he's imposing. He can run, got great ball skills. And I think ever since he, is just a one-sport athlete, he played Big Ten basketball at our place as well. And I think, he's had a great off-season, great spring, great summer because all of his attention has been to football. And then Marcus Thigpen is he is about as fast a football player as I've ever been around. And he's kind of a triple threat guy himself because he's a good running back. He can catch the ball out of the backfield, and he's just a great kickoff return guy.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that for a minute. Marcus Thigpen led the country last year in kickoff return average, 30.1 yards per game. This year we're moving it 5 yards back to kick off from the 30. How's that going to affect a guy like him?
Well, we think it's going to be a real benefit. As we went through last year, a lot of teams were using alternative kicks, bloop kicks, squib kicks, keep it out of his hands. Well, now if they're going to do that, that's going to create field position for us. And, our number one goal in kickoff returns is field position and make sure we have possession of the ball when the play's over. So if they're going to do that, we got a great chance to create that field position. If they kick off to them, then it's going to be difficult for people to kick it in the end zone.
And finally, how do you see the race shaping up this year? We learned today that Michigan was named the preseason number one. I guess number one at least in this league. I guess no surprise. But how do you see this race shaping up?
It's a great league, and I really do think some of the teams that have been at the bottom are going to be better. We're going to be a better football team. I think Illinois is going to be a better football team. I think Northwestern is going to be a good football team. And, Iowa's going to bounce back to where they generally are. I think Michigan State will bounce back. I mean, I really do think it's going to be a great league. And as a result, you don't know what's going to happen. I think about what happened in the ACC last year.
Right.
What Wake Forest did. I'm sure they left their media day and nobody thought anything of them. But, they had one of those magical years. And so those of us that are kind of laying in the weeds, so to speak, are looking for that kind of a season as well.
Well, I think you're one of those teams laying in the weeds. I think this is a team you have to watch in the Big Ten and nationally in years to come. Bill Lynch, the new head coach, tragically having to take over for Terry Hepner, but I think big things to come for the Hoosiers this year. Bill, thanks a lot and good luck.
Thanks, Dennis.
All right. This is Dennis Dodd from CBS Sportsline here at the Big Ten Conference Media Days.